What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Access Granted. I'm your host, Chachere, and I am the founder and oh my god, the mic was not on. Okay, let me restart that. Hi, guys. This is Grant Chachere of Ruger Sports Media. I'm the owner and founder of Ruger Sports Media. You're welcome to another episode of Access Granted, and Ian, we got a lot talked about today. The Saints suck. That's nothing new. And LSU, they lost another big game under Brian Kelly. This is something that's kind of a recurrent theme among LSU football the last few years under Brian Kelly. Really a theme of his career. And it's not. And he's not he hasn't had a problem winning big time games at home. It's a matter of when he goes away, goes to opposing team stadium or plays on the neutral site. He tends to struggle. And let me move these hats. Need this a bit. Should have done that before the stream. Doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a lot of things that need to be talked about with LSU. But first, just the season isn't over, right? The season is not over. LSU will need, of course, they would need to win out the rest of the way. But the season isn't over. LSU, what helps them out is that they were able to beat Ole Miss, right? Is seen as a good win, although I don't see Ole Miss beating Georgia this week. You just got to hope that Ole Miss wins out. And then also LSU, of course you want, some other teams to finish off the season strong as well. But what doesn't help LSU at all is that you already have 2 losses. And also, one of your losses was against USC. Now, if you lost against Ole Miss and A&M, that would be one thing. But LSU lost against not only A&M, which is actually a really good team, although A&M's legit, y'all. A&M's a really good team. A&M, and if you look, I'm actually going to pull up their schedule real quick, actually. But A&M has a great chance of winning out. I think if there's one thing LSU, needs to happen with LSU is that A&M definitely needs to finish the season strong, and they have a great opportunity to. A&M, of course, is 7-1. Their lone loss was against Notre Dame. But if you look at the rest of the way, they got South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn, and Texas. The next 3 games are very winnable. South Carolina is kind of an team, although they play at South Carolina, which is a very tough place to play. It's kind of an team. New Mexico State, that's a win. And Auburn is not very good. So those are 3 very winnable games for A&M. And the very last game is against Texas, which has a lot of implications in the playoffs, right? It also could lead to A&M going to his first SEC title game in the school's history. They're undefeated right now in SEC play. The winner of the A&M LSU game actually would the winner of the LSU A&M game is going to be the first place team outright in the SEC, as neither of them had a loss going in that game, and A&M came out on top. Now, if you're LSU, you kind of want A&M to win out, all right? And actually, let me show you their schedule real quick. So, share the screen with you. So, that's the schedule right here. So, it's at South Carolina versus New Mexico State, at Auburn, and Texas. So they could easily win out, right? But although Texas, that's gonna be a tough matchup, and really that's gonna be college game day right there. You got the Texas A&M game being played for the first time since 2011, so it's been a little over, close to 15 years now. And they both hate each other, right? They both hate each other, and A&M's kind of bitter about the whole Texas thing, about how they hate each other. They truly hate each other, and they did not want Texas to join the SEC. And that's a great opportunity for Texas under Mike Elko, who's a great coach, by the way. I think Mike Elko doesn't get a lot of credit for how good of a coach he is. He went to Duke, and Duke at the time was not very. Now they had some success under David Cutcliffe, but they but before he got there, they're falling on some hard times. And his first year there, they go 9-4. I think they went like 3-9 to 9-4 in 1 year. So he did a hell of a job with that Duke program, especially with that's a hard job, right? Like Duke is an academic school. They really don't care about football. They're of course a basketball school, as everyone knows that. But they don't really care about football, and they care more about their academics and basketball. And so the fact that he was able to have some good success at Duke, and not only that, come to A&M, make A&M kind of a legitimate program, because A&M for a long time has been seen as a joke, right? And even right now, they're still kind of seen as a joke in the sense that like they've always underachieved. They have just as much money as a lot of the big time programs, actually maybe even more than a lot of the big time programs. They definitely have more than LSU. They definitely have more than Auburn and Alabama. Like, got a lot of oil money. And also just like their program's history, like they're the most underachieving program in college football. But Mike Elko is trying to change that. I think you heard the comments about him about saying this is a real program. This is not this is not a politician running a program talking fast, blah, blah. And a lot of people thought he was talking about Jimbo Fisher. A lot of people thought he was talking about Brian Kelly. I think it's more, if he was talking about a certain person, it would have been Jimbo Fisher. Because Jimbo Fisher does talk really fast, like really, really fast. It's kind of scary. But really, reality, he wasn't even talking about either coach because he respects both coaching. He coached under Brian Kelly under Notre Dame. Mike Elko was Brian Kelly's defense coordinator at Notre Dame, and he's also Jimbo's defense coordinator at Texas A&M. So he has a lot of respect for both guys. He coached under him. And so I really think what he was trying to say was, like, we're a real program. Like, people think of us as a joke program. We haven't won that championship since Nazi Germany invaded Poland to kick off World War II. Like, we're a real program. We got really good players. We got the resources to be a really good program. Just watch. And that was a huge statement win for A&M over LSU. Now, to talk about LSU, like, this is LSU show, not an A&M show, but you get what I'm saying? So, like, that's a huge win for the Aggies. So if you're LSU, you want to win, right? I mean, let's take a look at the rankings. This is not the official college football rankings right now. They're going with the AP poll. But just say scenario that LSU, go back to LSU wants to go to the college football playoff, for which they still have. I think they still have a great shot to do it. Now they need a little help, but they still have a great shot to do it. Let me show you the rankings real quick. So right now, LSU sits at 16, right? And just remember this: the 12th seed will be a group of 5 school. So right now, the highest group of 5 school is Boise State, right? So Boise State will get that 12th spot. So there's 11 spots left, right? Remember, BYU is a Power 5 school now. BYU is undefeated. They're the number 9 team in the country. They're the first place team in the Big 12 outside of Iowa State. They are tied with Iowa State. So BYU is not a group of 5 schools. Just remember that. They're a Big 12 school now. And they're having a hell of a season. But Oregon's 1, Georgia's 2, Penn State's 3, Ohio State's 4, Miami's 5, Texas 6, Tennessee's 7, Notre Dame's 8, BYU, of course, is 9, A&M's 10, and then Iowa State and Clemson are both tied at 11 because that's just the people in a nutshell. So if you're LSU, like, I think what the college football playoff, they're going to add in 4 teams at most from the SEC. I think that's probably what they'll lean to. Because, Greg Sankey, I think he's going to make a power play to have 4 SEC teams in because SEC is, of course, considered the best conference of college football right now. I mean, they got the most teams in the top 25. I mean, Missouri, Ole Miss, LSU, Alabama, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Texas, and Georgia. So that's about 6-7 teams right there I just named. They're in the top 25. And not only that, in the top 10, you have 4 teams. So I think, Greg Sankey's going to make a power play to add 4 teams in the college football playoff. Unfortunately for LSU, they had a really bad loss against USC, and then also losing against Texas A&M also hurts, considering the fact that Notre Dame, despite them losing against Northern Illinois, they beat A&M, at A&M, which is something that LSU did not do. However, you can make a case that that might be a different A&M team than the one that LSU played. Because even though it was the same, but now Marcel Reed's going to be the starting quarterback from here on out. And he fits the offense a lot more with A&M because A&M wants to run the ball. They want to be physical. And if you look at Mike Elko's past offenses, they've always been kind of this read option type of offense. I mean, especially under a guy like Colin Klein, who is, who was like that at Kansas State. He was the third place in the Heisman race in 2012 behind Johnny Manziel and of course Monte Te'o. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry, my dog was barking like crazy. So I had to make sure like everything was all right. Like I had to let her in and make sure like she was in there wasn't someone in the backyard or anything like that. But so anyway, but was going back to like you need some help. Like Notre Dame beat the living beat A&M by 2 touchdowns. That was a different A&M team at that time. But because I think, because Marshall Reese could be the starting quarterback from here on out. However, that's good. Notre Dame beat A&M. And so that's what voters are going to look at, right? You're gonna need help, by other teams. You need Texas to maybe lose a couple more games, and Tennessee lose them a couple more games because there's only going to be 4 teams that are going to be taken from the SEC. So it's going to be rough sledding for LSU moving forward. I mean, they're going to try because they want to make sure there's as much parity between the Power 4 conferences as possible, right? You get Iowa State's undefeated, BYU's undefeated, so they might add in 2 teams from the Big 12. They're probably going to add 3 from the Big 10. They're going to add maybe 1 or 2 from the ACC. Right now, Miami's undefeated. They definitely want Miami in the playoff because it's Miami. It's a program full of tradition. Not only that, it's in they want the Miami market. They want the South Florida market. So they want to make sure that if Miami has 2 losses, they're going to make sure Miami gets in, right? So I mean, LSU's going to need some help, right? The rest of the way, I mean, let's look at Tennessee's schedule. Tennessee, they got Kentucky, Mississippi State, Georgia, UTEP, and Vanderbilt. So you're going to need Tennessee to probably lose 2 more games, and also LSU needs to win out as well. I mean, that's the obvious one, but they're going to need Tennessee to lose 2 more games. If Georgia, I think Georgia's going to be fine. I think Georgia's also going to be fine. I think they're going to win out. But Texas, I think the only other big time game they have left is Georgia. Not Georgia. A&M. So, LSU's going to need a lot of help, a whole lot of help from other teams, and then also they need to help themselves by winning out. You need to beat Alabama. They need to beat Vanderbilt. They need to beat Florida, and they need to beat Oklahoma. They need to win their next 4 games if they want to be in. That A&M loss hurt. Of course, that last loss hurt them. That was a great opportunity to win a big time game in a hostile environment, but they didn't do it. They collapsed the second half. They didn't, on 3 of their field goal attempts, 2 of them were misses, and 1 of them was a bad snap. The defense did not prepare for Marcel Reed. And I know that's, Marcel Reed was the backup. How could they know he's going to have gone in? Connor Wegman was not only struggling during the game, but Connor Wegman was struggling in the large part of the season. Matter of fact, when Marcel Reed started 3 games for A&M, because Connor Wegman was hurt, so it wasn't really his fault, but Connor Wegman got hurt. But he played better than Connor Wegman in the 3 games that started. Connor Wegman only threw 1 touchdown against the FBS opponent. Meanwhile, Marcel Reed in the 3 games started against Florida, Bowling Green, and Arkansas, he threw 2 touchdowns each. No interceptions. Connor Wegman has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. Connor Wegman was struggling, and it was inexcusable for LSU to not prepare for a guy like Marcel Reed, especially when they went against a similar offense the week before against Arkansas. So, that's like the third thing. Behind the special teams mistakes, and then of course Nussmeier throwing 3 costly interceptions, all 3 which were in LSU's own territory. But you didn't prepare for the backup guy to come in. Simple as that. But LSU's going to need a lot of help to make the college football playoff. At this rate, I think they're so help out there. I still think they can make it, but they're going to need a lot of help, and they're going to need to help themselves in the process as well. So that's it for the LSU talk. Let's talk about your New Orleans Saints. They suck. Derek Carr comes back. That's good. But they suck. They suck. They suck. I mean, there's $75 million over the cap space. They're old. And really, I can't even blame the players, man. Luckily, they play the Panthers. Whoop-de-doo. The Panthers suck even worse than the Saints. But the Saints suck, man. The defense has allowed 200 yards plus the last 2 games. They suck. Especially considering the fact that Dennis Allen's the defensive coach. They suck. And, I really haven't talked a lot about the Saints on the podcast recently. Not for long periods of time, because they suck. I mean, what is more the breakdown that they suck? what else do I need to talk about with the Saints team when you have a GM who's cocky, who's arrogant, who thinks it's untouchable? He overpaid, like who? No, like it's one thing to sign Derek Carr. I didn't mind them signing Derek Carr at the time. I understood why they signed Derek Carr, but they signed him for $150 million. Then they got to restructure everybody else's contracts. They got to find ways to pay Alvin Kamara, who's been by far the best player in this organization the last 3 or 4 years. And guess what? There's $75 million over the cap space. Over the next team, I think the team that had the second most, the second most money over the cap was the Browns. They had $39 million dollars over the cap. That's $35 million less than the Saints. The Saints have $35 million more in cap space over the limit than the second worst team. That's pitiful. Pitiful. And a lot of people are going to blame it Dennis Allen, which they should. They should definitely blame Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen's not a very good coach. Dennis Allen has never had a winning season as a head coach. He wasn't a good coach with the Raiders. And he has not been a good coach with the New Orleans Saints. It's bad. It's just a bad ordeal. But the main person you should blame, by the way, I just saw this on Twitter because I was speaking of Dennis Allen. Let me share you this real quick. I know it's not mid-rant, but I got to show you this. Since being promoted to head coach in 2022, Dennis Allen is 18-24. To take it a step further, versus opponents with winning records 3-10, versus opponents with as many wins as losses, he's 4-5, just under 500. And against opponents with losing records, he's 11-9. It's bad. And he's 26 for 52 as a head coach. That's by Chris Roskvalu. And then John Sigler broke it down here. But here's another interesting tweet that John Sigler broke out a couple days ago. I saw this. This was actually the tweet I was actually looking for. Dennis Allen has now coached 78 NFL games, losing 52 of them. There have been 147 coaches to work 78 or more games in NFL history, but only 2 have a worse win percentage than he does. Dennis Allen, 26-52. That's 33%. Marion Campbell, 34 wins, 80 losses, and 1 tie, 300. And Joe Bugle, 24-56. That's bad. That's bad, y'all. That's really bad. But Dennis Allen is not the problem. It's the guy who hired Dennis Allen. It's the guy who's responsible for having the Saints $75 million over the cap. It's the guy that drafts who whiffs and sniffs every single pick he's picked at the offensive line and defensive line position. It's a guy who got signed for Chase Young and another player when you needed, like he signed 2 defensive linemen when you needed offensive lineman and wide receiver. That guy's Mickey Loomis. That guy's the biggest cancer to the Saints organization right now. He is. He's whiffed on a lot of draft picks the Saints have. The reason why the Saints are in this position they are in is not because of the head coach. The head coach, yes, the head coach and Dennis Allen is bad, but the head coach can only do so much when the roster is poo. When you overpay Derek Carr. When you have to, because the cap space is so high, you have to restructure everybody's contracts. I remember a couple years ago, like when he was fixing around everybody's contracts, everybody's like, "Oh, Mickey Loomis is a cap space genius. He's a cap space wizard." Oh, if fixing around the cap space for certain players because you don't have any money for the last 2-3 years because you're trying to hold on to a roster who's old as crap, who's as old as Joe Biden, Donald Trump. These guys are old. We have old players on the team. You didn't get rid of them because you're the chick from who can't live past 1985, who was thought he was a hot crap in 1985 when they were a junior of high school. That's how old these players are. And you kept them for what? Because you're trying to hold on to something that is not there anymore. It's not there. The Saints, that's long and gone. All these guys should have been. The Saints should have rebuilt the second Drew Brees left the door. They should have. And instead, we got a bad roster with a lot of older players. We have a lot of young players on the team outside of maybe Chris Olave. Maybe 1 or 2 more. They're actually good. The Saints have whiffed and whiffed and whiffed on almost every single draft pick they've had. Kool-Aid McKinstry has not been a very good player this year, the Saints. Trevor Penny, awful. Cesar Ruiz, bust. Matter of fact, a lot of people wanted the Saints to draft Patrick Queen. Lots of LSU fans wanted. I'm not sure if Justin Jefferson went after. Did Justin Jefferson go after Cesar Ruiz? Now I'm actually curious. You may have dropped it before if somebody wants to leave. He's drafted report Cesar Ruiz, but everybody wanted Patrick Queen. Matter of fact, Jordan Love was drafted over Cesar Ruiz. You could have drafted Jordan Love to become your successor for Drew Brees. Patrick Queen was a Pro Bowler last year. An all-pro player last year. And you did not. You whipped on him. He's better than all the linebackers the Saints have currently. I mean, the Saints have completely whipped. Isaiah Foskey is another one. I mean, Payne Turner hasn't done a damn thing. Mitch Loomis is the biggest cancer to the Saints organization. It's not Dennis Allen. It's Mickey Loomis. He's the one that hired Dennis Allen. But you got to look past the results. What is there to look past? What is there to look past? The team sucks. They're 2-6. That's the reality, bro. That's the reality. And he doesn't live in reality because he's golfing every day at the country club and not realizing what's going on with the Saints. But it's time for Mickey Loomis to step down. I'm not asking for him to be fired because I don't wish people to get fired, but he needs to resign. Period. It's not looking good, bro. If this was any other organization, Mickey Loomis would have been gone by now. I'm being serious. But anyway, let's go wrap up today's show. Make sure to like and like this video if you're on YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Ruger Sports Media. Also, make sure to follow us on social media at Ruger Media on Twitter and Ruger Sports Media on Instagram. So right here on the screen above the video that I am currently speaking in right now. Also, if you're watching this on Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Give me a follow and give Ruger Sports Media a follow. And also, if you're on Facebook, please like the Ruger Sports Media page. I'm trying to get all that figured out where I can broadcast from the Ruger Sports Media page to my personal one. I gotta try to get that figured out. Hopefully, I can get it done soon. But anyway, this show will be broadcast later this week, probably on Saturday, probably on the weekend. We'll be live once again. But anyway, stay tuned. I'll update you guys when the next Access Grant is going to pop up. And by the way, in about an hour, me and Jace Lejeune of Ground Football will be discussing the Week 9 high school football schedule around the state of Louisiana. Anybody who is a big fan of high school football around the state of Louisiana, make sure to tune in at 8 o'clock. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.